Hi Ali, just having a quick review of your email before I look properly at the video. And you mentioned that you filmed before the side pull had arrived, and you were just having a little play with the Micklem with the two reins. Okay, you don't have most of the halts, but there are a couple. I'm sure I'll be able to see from those exactly what's going on. What I did notice when I first had a quick look at the video is how lovely his posture looks in the opening of it, but we'll have a look. Wish I'd put my stirrups down. Yeah, I think you did look like you were a little bit short, but I'm sure it's not the end of the world. Okay, so with the bitless work, this is one of the first times I've really tried influencing his position and balance rather than just speed and direction. Yeah, and I mean, that is just like it would with a bit. This is very much how you would progress the work. So you start with the really simple things like the rein means stop, or the rein means turn, and the leg means go, or the leg means move this way a bit. But yeah, so very much new to me, and I'm not quite sure how well I applied it. I'm sure you did a great job. So you started off with bitted and side pull. Yeah, two reins, it's a bit of a faff, isn't it? You know, we'll have a look how you did. Okay, so he was chewing the bit constantly. Interesting, have a look at that. So I'm assuming from that that he doesn't do that when he's purely bitted, although I have seen him do it a little bit in the bit. Shouldering was one of the few bits of lateral work. So yeah, that would be good to have a look at. You dropped your outside rein at the start and then corrected it. It's brilliant that you're getting, you know, aware of those things without even the feedback. You dropped the bitted rein to see if that helped with the chewing, but no. And you discovered the problem that when you'd been pulling out my mountain block, I felt Joey go for some grass. And yes, of course, so he got the grass wrapped around it, so... So you then took the bit out to do some bitless. It's interesting when they've got something around that bit. You know, I know a lot of bitless people are very anti-bits, but you know, it does work well. If you have light hands, the horse learns to carry the bit on his tongue. But of course, if it's full of grass and he's trying to settle with that and trying to eat it, there's no way it's going to settle. So yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm going to have to probably come back and check these. I'm going to make a note as I go. So that's 157. You do some turn on the haunches and see if you could get him sharper, but you didn't. Okay, so not sharp enough for that one. Let's make a note. And you get, I've got off to check. Oh, sorry, I'm on another. I did do them on the other rein, but they were out of camera, but pretty much the same. Okay. The trot work was mainly concentrating on trying to sit softer with not much success. I think with your stirrups you might have found that harder. I find it interesting that at 241 and 258 the deepness goes. It's interesting, okay. And you thought that you had a better trot at 315 and 327. A halt at 3, so they were good trots, and you thought that at 333 best or better halt. In the halt at 402 you can see him forward, but I asked him for walk just as he went. Oh no. Yeah, okay, so there's bits where he's on his forehand. Yeah, I just think it's so fabulous that you're aware of this. The photograph is really helpful. You've got it up very high, which is normally what I would advise, especially if a horse has breathing problems, because you're not going to create the problem. Of all the things you've talked about with him having the problem with the noseband, but not with the bit, makes me wonder if he has got a hypersensitivity on his face. I know you say he likes his face rubbed, but I'm not sure whether you've noticed anything else that might indicate that he has that sort of sensitive face. You know, it could be that if he's got problems, then you know that there's areas of his face that become more sensitive when he's sensitive with his cough and airways. Definitely something I think I'd discuss with your vet to see whether they think there's any possibility of that. Okay, anyway, I'm going to have a look at the video now. So here we are on the video, and as I say, I love his posture. He's coming up out of your neck, out of his shoulders with his neck, and it looks absolutely amazing. He's dipping behind a little bit, but we'll have a look about that. Sometimes there's still a moment in time as he's going through the stride. It just happens. Yeah, and he's looking nice. The only thing I would say, if I take that back, and you just look a little, it might be because of the stirrups, you don't look so deep down in your stirrup and relaxed in your lower back. You look a little bit perched, I say, it could be because of the stirrups. And therefore the hands are tending to move towards the shoulder downwards rather than just that lightness of carrying up. This is really fussy Ali, you know, most people would be absolutely delighted to be able to ride like that, so really, you know, don't worry about it massively. Yeah, that's nice, very, very nice here. Okay, I think there's a hint, if I play that back a second for you. Well, that's perfect where I've got it there. If you see that what tends to happen with Joey is that you draw him around with the inside, you know, and you really need to be thinking, you know, close the legs around him so that both legs are long, not tight. You're just letting those legs hang around him, and then just turn him with your body a little bit. Yeah, just gently bringing that left knee close to the shoulder to bring it around, and then you would just get that little bit better connection, and then you could use that the right fingers there to get the lightness. It looks a little blocked for a second, but gosh, I'm being fussy. This is gorgeous, lovely. The right hand could be higher, but other than that, that's absolutely super. Very nice here. You're actually starting to think about your hands. That was brilliant. I like that. Again, you're tending to just drop that hand, the left hand, a little bit. I'd like it to be just a bit livelier and not fixed so much. Yeah, that's nice. I think that left leg could be a little bit quicker. Now, I'm guessing that your condition possibly doesn't help with that having a light sort of fluttery inside leg is difficult. If we look at it again, let's take it a tiny bit back from there. So I can see the left leg's just keeping him going a little bit. And it just needs to be a little bit lighter and quicker, but I really like that. I can see him chomping that bit there, yeah. I will have that grass. I loved him afterwards, it looked super. So here we're without the reins. Oh, sorry, not without the reins, but without the one set of reins. And it's interesting how he comes up, isn't it? So... Oh, sorry, excuse me, why have I got an ad? Excuse me. Goodness me, why have I got an ad on that? Somehow managed to get from somebody else's video to... Oh, idiot woman. Okay, sorry, apologies for that, Ali. I won't redo it because otherwise you lose. I have to go and do that. Yeah, and you could see on that actually again as I looked again, the left hind not quite getting under there, but you know, still a nice shoulder in. So here we've dropped the bit rein and it's looking nice. And you see how he naturally comes up. In the bit, he tends to come down and over a little bit. Without the bit, he comes a bit above. And I'm guessing, you're going to have to tell me, but I'm guessing that in that feeling when he comes up in the bitless, that he feels a little less light in your hands. So let's have a look at more of this. Again, you're looking a little bit tucked in your seat, but I really like his posture. Now, for me, looking from the outside and not how this feels, his posture there is a 9. His posture previously is 8 3/4, shall we say. So he might feel nicer when he's in the bit, and you might find that, you know, some dressage judges would mark you higher, but it is incorrect. I'm sorry, whatever any of them say. It really shouldn't be that he tucks behind like that. It should be that he lifts up clear. Let's have a look and show that again, because it really is super. I think you could give a little with the hands there, and even if he doesn't feel like light, act light. So you act how you want him to be on the ends of the reins. Yeah, I like this. I think what you need to work on is some flexion work, bitless, which will really help you. And we're coming into the shoulder in again. Yeah, that's nice. Again, I'm imagining you're going to say this doesn't feel so nice, but look at that. Let me just... This hind, look at it. Look, it's in the absolutely perfect line. Excuse my dog. Of course, it's all right. It's in the perfect line. It's stepping forwards towards the... Of course, here, bub. Good girl. It's stepping perfectly into that line. It is absolutely super. So really pleasing. So now we're coming up to the turn on the haunches. Yeah, I don't know why you don't like that. I'm not sure how far around you were aiming to go. But do you know, again, I think you need to be lighter to expect him to be lighter. I think you have a feel on the reins and you think, oh, that doesn't feel very light. And when you feel that, that's the time when you have to get fluttery in your fingers and lighter and brighter with the whole thing, or he will just deaden against it. Pressure and release works on him understanding when you release, he got it right. And so there's an awful lot of releasing required, especially when you don't have a bit that sort of creates it. If you think of the weight of a metal bit in a mouth, it creates some energy in itself just by being in there. There's a joint in it, more than one joint in some, so there's always that feeling that the horse can lighten just by, carrying it on his tongue. You don't have that with bitless, so it's down to you to teach the release. Yeah, I see where you are there, and again, I think you just slightly overworked that. Yeah, you're just not maybe quick enough, and again, it comes with the flutter of the leg and the lightness of the inside hand being carried up a little bit. Yeah, nice light leg with the right leg there. Yeah, but you kept it on a little bit, and I think that comes from having those shorter reins, shorter stirrups. It's harder for you. Sorry, I'm just looking at timing. So I know 2:41. We're coming up out of the deepness. Yeah, this is nice. But you see what you're doing with your hands? Your hands have gone, oh, here we are, wide and down here, because I don't really know what else to do with them. I think this is just the fact you haven't been schooling maybe for a while, but I would just bring those hands closer together, carry them a little higher so your seat doesn't interfere with what's going on with the reins. So that Joey understands absolutely from the feedback he gets from your hands what he means. Look up as well, so you're tending to have it. I think that's probably because it's more difficult for you. And obviously we don't have the bit in now because you changed to not having the bit, and it's really essential that you come light in your seat. And that doesn't mean hovering. Let's pause it there. That doesn't mean hovering, that means just really light. So I'm going to go back to the one around the 3 minutes, because I know this was another one where the deepness went. So he was a little deep and then up he came. Really nice. It's super to see that, and you just need to respond by carrying your hands, soften that bend in your elbow, carry your hands and let your seat do its thing while he does his thing. Really, really nice. I like the trots. Oh, that is super. Yeah, that's the trot you marked down, wasn't it? 3:15. Let's go back. Yeah, I love it. It's super. The posture is fantastic. Now, Ali, what I want you to do in your trot transitions is not care about a diagonal. I'll teach you how to rise to diagonals at some point. But right now, I'm not worried about what diagonal you go on. So don't worry about that. I want you to just sit and let him move you for a couple of steps if you can. If it feels too bouncy and you can't stick it, that's fine. And in that period when you go, I'm walking, now I'm trotting, I want you to feel that one half of the pelvis goes one way, the other, yeah, so that you've got that cycle feel in the pelvis, so that then it's not moving together as one lump, as both seat bones, both sides of the pelvis together. So it feels as it would when you were running or walking, that one is sliding forwards and the other, and it's a rolling action. So I want you to feel that for the first 2 bumps at least that you feel, and then I want you to let go a little bit between the thigh and the hip. You know, there's a sort of feel in there, and I want you to allow that to then be drawn up into the rise. So there's a little bit of a feeling between the thigh and the hips, and I want you to just feel that that is being lifted forwards just at the right time, that you can come into a very natural rise, so that you don't feel tightened in that. Sorry, I've just realised this is it's not meant to be a pick Ali apart video, honestly. I'm just seeing things that I know would help you. But I really love that trot. You've got a great eye now. Again, that's very nice. I love it. And I'm going to go back and see what you did in that one, because that one was better, I think. Yeah, that was nicer. You sat softer, you remained sitting, and that's helped. Keep your eyes really soft. Yeah, now again, I think that there, it's just a case, let me come back to the halt. I think it's just a case of you letting go sooner. They won't be so great to begin with. He might wander forward, so halt and give. Yeah, and if he wanders, I'd let him wander. You know, the next one, he'll get better. The next one, he'll get better on. So you basically shape the behavior that you have. It might be that the halt isn't perfect. It might be that the halt wanders, it's not straight, but those are all things that you can work on later. What I would have liked to see was that super release, so that he went, oh yay, I got it right. You know, she let go of the rein. After using it, I understand what she's talking about. So work on that, work on the aid more. And here, I think you could be lifting up a little bit more, but it's a responsive enough rein back, but it could be massively more responsive. Super trot on, I love that. Very nice. Yeah, this is fantastic. Again, though, yeah, if I just replay that for you, I want you to look at your right hand, and I want both hands, you know, so that you look at the elbow to the bit, and it just flattens a little bit, it just comes a little bit blocky. So just always be thinking, especially with your inside hand, can I lift it, can I line? So yeah, so again, I would have liked to have seen that left hand a little bit lighter, but this is lovely. I love the uphill nature of this trot. But the trouble is, one thing you need to think about is when you rise, you drop your hands if you're not concentrating. And it's probably the shortness of the stirrups not helping as well. But you come into the rise and you flatten your hands down as you go up to rise. So I want you to try and think about that little area, as I say, between the thigh and the hips. And imagine that I've stitched a bit of cord onto a little bit of elastic that fastens in there. And just feel drawn up a tiny bit towards the cantle with that. It doesn't have to be standing up tall, it just needs to be this. You know, Joey will push you there, gravity will bring you down, but you use that little area around between the hip and the thigh just to coordinate yourself and control yourself a little better. Yeah, this is nice. Oh, fabulous. But again, he wandered through it. I'd say, okay, I'll let him wander through and I'll give. Because what I really am teaching here is his response to the rein. It's not a perfect halt. It's just about a response. And when you worry, for instance, about out hacking, whether he would stop off a rein on a bitless, he will stop just as well off a bitless eventually if he understands it as well as he understands the bit. To some degree, teaching it from the bit is a little bit more painful for him, and therefore he's come to understand that it's better that he stops more quickly. We don't want to do that with the bitless. We want it to be very, very quietly sculpted, to be shaped into a behaviour. So the beginning part is that he even hints at stopping or slowing down. Then the next is that he actually stops, and then the next is that he stops uphill, that he stops off a lighter and lighter rein, blah, 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 on we go. And you were a little bit tucked forward with that. I think you could have remained down on your seat bones a little bit in that transition. Again here, I wouldn't wait too long. I'd just be lifting up a little bit through the hands so that he feels it, almost that he feels it under the chin if you're in the Miklam like that, because I think that could be helpful. But a very good rein back and a fabulous transition off. Try and lift up a little bit through your chest so that you don't curve forwards in that respect, just light, but I really like it. Okay, so to recap, I always love his posture in the bit, but in actual fact in the bitless I think there is much less tendency for him to come behind the bit. I'd like to think of you working on that in the future, so that you develop the lightness bitless that you think you have bitted, and that you do that in a way by retraining yourself to expect a different thing, so that you give him a feel that you want him to mirror, rather than feeling that you have to have a fiddle all the time to make it right. You weren't fiddling. Overall, I think, it was a really nice video. It's lovely. I know you're not doing much of this at the moment. It was really lovely to see him. I think you need to train yourself to be a little bit softer where you can, where your condition allows for it, so that the leg is lighter. It can come off just as easily as it goes on in a fluttery sort of way rather than a clunky way. I want you to be more aware of your hands and what you do with them, and your lower back being flexible, your pelvis moving in two separate halves in the sitting trot so that it doesn't become fixed, and that you become a bit more open in your shoulders. I'm not sure if we've done the exercise where you ride with one arm, one hand on the reins and the other arm pointed out to the side, either to the outside or to the center point of the circle, and ride like that in walk, trot, rising trot, and just gradually let your hand come back down from being pointed out onto the reins. But at any time you can visualize the feeling, you can bring that feeling back of how it felt to have that arm pointed and stretched right out, and that sometimes just helps you feel sort of more open across the shoulders. I've been promising to do a blog on it for so long. I really must get back to my blog. I've had so much on lately that I haven't written that up, but when I do, that's something for you to think about, that upper body. And don't worry about your trotting to the correct diagonal or anything else like that. So I think when you do all of that, the things like the connection in the shoulder in and the turn on the haunches will all become a lot easier, because he'll be listening out for those cues that are much lighter, and you'll be shaping things much more quickly because he understands the rein cues. So over the winter you could work on these rein cues. Lifting up means stop, an opening rein, a tiny little feel on an inside rein means flex, or point your nose this way, and once the nose is pointed that way, he's going to go that way. So all in all, I think it was excellent. I think I love your own feedback. You have become so intuitive as to how it looks and feels. I hope the translation is starting to come in that you feel it when you ride it. Any questions, get back to me, and we'll work through bits as they come. Well done.